Sometimes there aren't a lot of differences between going to a casino and racing multiclass on Le Mans Ultimate. Welcome back to Bahrain, the full layout this time though. We're racing the ELMS Sprint Trophy, which means we're sharing the track with the LMP2s and the LMP3s. We qualified P10, which isn't bad actually, considering I made some considerable changes to my setup right before qualifying. But we're gonna go green, we get a decent start. We've maybe got a jump on the Merc. In front of us, the Aston Martin alongside us has also got a really good start. That is the Aston Martin of Nate Samba, and there's a slow starting Ferrari over there too. We're gonna pick the outside line for turn 1 as there are already yellow flags. There's a lot of piling up going on, but the outside line has worked for us. It has worked for us very pleasantly. We've climbed about 4 places just into turn 1. We're now into the podium positions in P3. There's battling going on in front between the Ferrari and the BMW. The BMW has to go wide so we can get the cut back. We get a better line through there. There's an LMP2 who spun around on the right hand side as well. We go into the chicane. We're going to start sector 2. The BMW is getting a little bit wiggly there and he gets a really slow exit, so we're going to send it down the inside, try to make a move stick. But no, unfortunately we can't. And on the exit, unfortunately as well, the BMW gets a massive snap and clatters into our door. And going into turn 9 and into turn 10 as well, we're on board with an LMP3. He's gonna send it up our inside and leave us no room whatsoever to work with. So the Porsche of Tobias Ogrodnik has gotten past us as well, and maybe the Mustang of Andrei Porshakov. Those two guys are the fastest guys on this race. They can do 59s or 2-minute flats quite easily there. Tried to make a move on us as well, but it didn't work for him. Let's look at the replay of what happened on lap 1 at T1. We're looking at the LMP2 field that caused all of this, and we can see a black LMP2 just locks his rear brakes and has to stay stationary in the middle of the track, which unfortunately causes everyone to slow down and back up. Lap 1 done and lap 2 begins here. We're right behind the Mustang of Andrei Porshakov, but no longer we are now side by side with the Porsche of Tobias Ogrodnik. There was a bit of lag there. Maybe Ogrodnik's internet kind of died for a moment there, but we're also letting the LMP2 that spun earlier on lap 1 through as he carves back through the field. Now we're gonna see through the chicane. Tobias Ogrodnik gets a really good run, and on the entry to the hairpin, he's gonna make the move. We're not really gonna fight this one all too much, because as we know, he's a faster driver, so we're gonna let him by into turn 9. But unfortunately, by doing that, we're gonna invite the BMW behind to send it into turn 10, but it's a send that won't work. He just left that a little bit too late and was a little bit too far. So luckily, no extra damage for us. The yellow damage we had originally was from the contact with the other BMW on lap 1. Now we're gonna focus on Colin Smith in the Ferrari in front. He is leading the GT3 field, and now we're on board with Connor McKinnon. He is gonna be a big part in this race. He's just kind of faking moves to the inside of the leader of the LMGT3 field, even though he's in a different class. So Colin Smith in the Ferrari has to slow down quite a bit to not make any contact with this LMP3 driver and to not ruin both of their races. Unfortunately for him though, the LMP3 driver of Connor McKinnon takes a really long time to get by him. Luckily he does now on the main straight. But all of that battling with a driver that's not even in the same class has pulled Andrei Porshakov back into the conversation for the lead and into the tight turn 10. The Ferrari runs wide on the exit. Andrei Porshakov in the red Mustang could get a run alongside here on the back straight. This is not the longest straight, but it's gonna be enough for Andrei Porshakov to get the brakes later than Colin Smith and move up into P1. For us though, as we round turn 4, we can see blue flags on our dash. The first batch of LMP2s are coming up. As Andrei Porshakov on the left hand side there, we can see him pirouetting back towards the right direction. What happened to him there, as we now let the leader of the LMP2 field by Andrei Porshakov maybe made contact with someone in different class, and yes, he has. We're on board with once again Connor McKinnon. A GT3 is once again fighting with someone that's not even in their class. Connor McKinnon just brake checks Andrei Porshakov and for good measure slams into his door, which causes Porshakov to go into the runoff. He spins around. Now, however, we're back on board with Colin Smith. Connor McKinnon slows right down once again, and the Ferrari makes contact with him. Honestly, I don't think there's a lot Colin Smith could have done there. McKinnon's braking was very, very unexpected. Now, because of all that chaos, Tobias Ogrodnik now has a chance to take the lead. On the same straight where Porshakov took the lead earlier, he's gonna make the sand down the inside. It doesn't quite work, but on the exit, the Ferrari runs wide and Tobias Ogrodnik can make the move stick now. Back to our POV. We're gonna let the second batch of LMP2s by. Behind us is the LMP2 in second place right now. We're gonna let him by through this right-hander, as we see smoke in the distance there. We're gonna go back to the track cam. There's a BMW that's just stranded in the middle of the track, where we can see Tobias Ogrodnik in front of Colin Smith, and behind Colin Smith, Connor McKinnon in the orange LMP3. Colin McKinnon is not very happy with the move he made earlier and slams the Ferrari into the wall. That's definitely an intentional wreck as they both make contact. There's our POV going through the crashes. On the brakes, we almost run into the back of the LMP2 fighting for the podium positions as he loses it. The LMP2 loses it on the exit, maybe got distracted by the commotion that happened in the previous corner, but McKinnon goes into the pits. He probably has, well, a lot of damage, but we can continue on in P2. Checking in with Andrei Porshakov now, however. He's in the middle of this pack with a couple LMGT3s, couple of LMP2s. You can see the LMP2s just trying to carve through this traffic unscathed. However, there's smoke and there's an LMP2 that spun, and everyone's gonna try to take avoiding action, but Andrei Porshakov, since he was a bit further behind, doesn't do that. So he picks off the BMW in one corner and could possibly pick off this Aston Martin of Nate Samba as well. A 2-for-1 special maybe for Andrei Porshakov, and he does make it stick going into turn 11, where he made the move on Colin Smith earlier on in the race. He has made the move on Nate Samba in the purple and black Aston Martin. Nate Samba is not gonna let this go though that easily, but he will have to concede going into the next corner, into the penultimate corner, as the BMW behind kind of pushes the LMP2 actually onto the sand there. However, this is not over. This battle is not over. Nate Samba's gonna send it down the inside of Andrei Porshakov. Luckily for Porshakov, he knew that was coming, and he gets the switchback done. So unfortunately for me, he didn't have to fight Nate Samba any longer, but at least he still got held up a couple of tenths in that bit of traffic. Now we cut to our point of view while all that battle was happening. We can see an LMP3, an orange LMP3. I think we know who that is. That is Connor McKinnon, who is exiting the pit lane and spins on cold tires into turn 3. Unfortunate for him, but at least we won't have to deal with him, honestly. Behind though, we will have to watch out for Andrei Porshakov, because once again, for the 1000th time, he is a very, very fast driver. I believe he's maybe top 20 in the leaderboards for this week, getting blue flags once again. We're gonna have to let the P8 LMP2 by, but thankfully he's gonna wait for us to round this hairpin as we try to manage the last bit of LMP2 traffic we have for this race. But regarding Andrei Porshakov and his charge to try to overtake us, I don't think he can do it. I don't think he is fast enough to catch us in time. If we don't make a mistake through turn 9 and through the hairpin of turn 10, we go for us as we cut on board with Andrei Porshakov in the other Mustang. He's gonna round the hairpin and unfortunately get on the power a little bit too early. He got trigger happy there on the throttle, and that gives him a big snap of oversteer, which allows us some breathing room, thankfully, and now we can focus on not making any more mistakes. So in that department, we've solidified P2. However, we're gonna look a bit further back in the field. This is a battle between three GT3s, a Mustang, a Porsche, and a Mercedes. Ahead, there is Connor McKinnon, as the Mustang we're on board with right now sends it on the LMP3 driver, who locked up going into the hairpin of turn 10. Unfortunately for our fellow Mustang driver, the LMP3 obviously has more straight line speed, so Connor McKinnon gets back ahead of him going into the next turn. McKinnon goes a little bit wide, but the LMP3 with better downforce can handle that wider line. Going into what is the last lap now, and the Porsche is gonna battle the LMP3 of Connor McKinnon as McKinnon locks up. That is a massive lockup. Maybe that's why he was a bit slow throughout the whole race. Maybe he kept locking up his brakes because those cars don't have ABS. But now Connor McKinnon's gonna pull to the inside. He's gonna switch to the inside, and on the brakes for turn 4, the Porsche outbrakes him. Connor McKinnon though is not happy with his moves for whatever reason and pushes him off the track more than Max Verstappen would, and the Porsche has now dropped 2 places. So very unfortunate. By fighting the LMP3 of Connor McKinnon, he has lost out. But for us, it is gonna be a P2 finish behind Tobias Ogrodnik, just ahead of Andrei Porshakov, so that is not a bad result for us. We're gonna look behind again and see the 3 GT3s fighting it out all the way to the checkered flag, but on the left hand side of the screen, Connor McKinnon has run wide once again, and he could have a photo finish with the Mercedes driver, and he does. In the overall standings, Connor McKinnon did finish ahead of the Merc, but yeah, that was a very chaotic race, mainly because of the LMP3 of Connor McKinnon.